So often I meet people who are so disconnected from their sexual power that they have been taught that their sexual desire, their sexual energy, their connection with other humans, their connection with themselves and pleasure, touch, sense is unholy, sinful, wicked, damnable, evil, that we have been disconnected from our bodies and from each other. We've been told that the ways that we are made, these gifts that we've been given, these amazing bodies, are animalistic, basic, shameful. And especially if you grew up with an orientation that was not gender typical, that you were not always attracted to solely the opposite gender, then it became even more worrisome. It became something you had to deny, cut yourself off from, reject, or pretend to be otherwise. But what if in fact your sexual energy were actually a gateway, not only to your highest, best life, but also your highest and truest self? What if orgasm and enlightenment weren't actually all that different? What if by reclaiming all of your body, including your genitals, what if you morphed into a happier, healthier, and more whole version of you? My name's Kay. I am an ecstatic life coach and author of the book Journey to the Ecstatic Self and the upcoming book I Dreamt of Flight. And if you relate to this message, then I am so with you. I grew up Christian. I grew up in a queer-phobic sort of environment. I grew up in a household where one parent was very sexual and the other wasn't. And I was taught as a young man that dad was bad for being sexual, that his desires were wrong and shameful. And I had to cut myself off from my sexuality. I learned God doesn't love faggots. I learned God doesn't love you when you masturbate. I learned that God thinks it's evil when you touch yourself. One might beg to ask, then why in tarnation were we given these fun little organs that bring us so much pleasure? It took me until my mid-20s before I finally came out, before I finally started exploring sex and sexuality. And it took until my early 30s until I started to recognize them as these divine gateways to enlightenment and my inner self. Throughout history, sex has been used as a superpower, a way to launch your spiritual connectedness to a higher level. When you start to own it, when you start to see every part of you as holy, every part of you is beautiful, and that any room you walk into, your penis or your vagina or your testicles or your whatever should be in the room. You don't have to castrate yourself. That when you walk into a temple, when you walk into a sacred space, that you bring all of you there. Because let's not forget how you began. You began life as a single cell when your mother's ova and your father's sperm joined together. And unless you were combined in a petri dish, this combination of cells happened in the act of lovemaking. You came from an act of sex, an act of orgasm, an act of intense joy. Pleasure is the first sensation our cells knew. It's indivisible from our inherent nature. Numerous spiritual traditions define one of the qualities inseparable from our inner selves, our cosmic selves, is that of being blissful. All of us, at our cores, when we get past identity, get past all of our limitations, we are creatures of shimmering bliss. Your life began as a small cell in a body experiencing bliss. How much more divine can you get than the creation of life? The creation of life, that's what God does. That's what the universe does. It spins itself out and creates life. It creates cosmos and planets and animals. The act of universal creation is divine lovemaking between the masculine and the feminine halves of creation. And we all hold those masculine and feminine halves within ourselves. So whether you're queer or straight or bi or gender non-conforming, it doesn't matter. You are still whole, you are still complete, you still possess the entirety of God within you. Straight heteronormative men still hold the goddess. Femme, lipstick, labia-loving lesbians still have the divine masculine within them. It doesn't matter. You are everything and nothing, everywhere and nowhere. And your sex is holy. The pleasure you derive from your sexual organs can carry you to a state of nirvana if you know how to use it correctly, if you know how to transmute it into enlightenment energy. Your sex life can take you to the moon, literally and figuratively. So why the shame? Why view yourself as unholy? Because there's not a single cell in your body that is any less perfect than that first cell that began at a moment of orgasm. Love all of yourself. Love every part of these magnificent vessels we've been given. And know that your desires, your need for touch, your love of connection with yourself and with other humans is God experiencing themselves. And when you begin to see yourself and the partners you interact with as being vessels for the divine rather than something shady or sinful or naughty or wrong or shameful, that's when magic happens. Because sex and sexuality is an immensely powerful, healing, generative force. It creates babies, it creates great works of art, it creates magic within and around you. So I invite you today, start loving your orgasm, start loving your penises and your vaginas and whatever equipment you've got down there. Be thankful for the pleasure it brings you, because we are all fragments of the divine off having our separate experiences, and you are God. You are the cosmos made manifest in flesh who has forgotten their divine heritage, and there's nothing about you and nothing you could ever do or not do that would make you any less holy. So stop being so damn puritanical about your nether regions. I'm Kay, and this is your ecstatic self. Namaste.